I do is I take my duck and I stuff it with maybe a lemon or orange and apple. And I buy a jar of orange marmalade and I put it on my hand and I cook inside and outside the duck. And if I'm baking the duck, I put it in the oven and cooks. I watch my duck every 10 or 15 minutes. I'm pulling out, I'm looking at it, I'm turning it over.
Based it with olive oil.
I do,
You
yes,
baste it?
yes, I do put some olive oil. Put a little wine, you get
Yeah, yeah,
creative, you can put
yeah,
about egg,
yeah.
garlic,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
whatever.
Monitor the
And
take away from
the key thing is,
we could see when you're.
I mean, I know.
to me,
Looking
because I'm not a
over
gourmet
here, you know, I
cook,
mean,
Yeah.
you've got
You monitor the chat throughout
with
the.
your duck. You can't say, oh, it's 35 minutes at 375 degrees. and needs to be
Right.
and walk off and
Yeah.
turn the TV or read a book or something.
Yeah.
And I'm every 10 minutes. I mean, it's a process.
I mean, it's delicious.
Oh, no, they are.
You know, the way the Chinese
So they're
do it is
recording
like
Oh.
amazing.
Oh,
my
no, I
God,
know,
it's So,
I know.
so good.
I know.
Yeah.
I know. All right.
I'll find it. If it's recording on this computer.
Evening, young man. Hey, how are you? Good, how are you? Good. I haven't met your new dog yet.
Well, now it's broken off a sprinkler here. In the patio, it has to be fixed. Got to get the dog to where he's not jumping all over the couch and anyway, well, tonight he did something to jump, but Jenny's too nice for him. So I've got this stick that's a back scratching thing.
Oh,
And he loves to scratch with it.
You always have a hand time.
Yeah. I'm kind of the same with Jack. I'm kind of the mean guy. and kind of Afraid of him. So I
No.
whacked him in the butt. And boy, he went like caught in his bed, but anyway. So
Good. Well,
he's got, he's only 2. He'll get there.
well, gets you out and about again, right? Gets you to walk a little
Well,
bit.
it does. I didn't want, I mean, I like to go. But I was glad.
Sam was. Well, no, it's like in
Any
the
dog.
whole paragraph. Jeez.
Oh, geez.
Here. I know they have to go. You gotta take them out. You gotta
Yeah.
walk,
Oh, but
you gotta
it's
go to the
Dale's,
bathroom.
not his wife.
It is more social in the spring and summer. It's nice to go out and talk to them. But you never see.
Ivy gets excited when she sees the garage door.
Oh,
open.
Oh, yeah. Of course.
Good cream. Table. I can't talk at your first table.
Did you rearrange the meeting?
You know, I complained, my wife had told me to buck up.
The
and deal
table,
with it.
I mean, I just thought I
I
heard
guess
Charles,
I'm doing
you
okay,
can
thank
go down to talk at your.
And I said, well.
And then
if
there
I-
was
I
2
get up
here
at
and
3
then-
o'clock, because I'm not gonna- and I said, You know.
So did you get-
Oh, yeah.
How did you get?
Did you do well this morning?
No, didn't do well. We got 5.
Where'd you hunt?
Like Brittany.
Marcus likes us today.
I see.
Yep.
It's a funny.
Says, why is the,
It was fun, yeah.
you know, like Marcus likes us today. Next to us.
She told me to sit over
I've
there.
hunted since I was a kid, because
Oh,
I grew
yeah.
up in Yuba City. But
Doesn't
duck hunting
like
is a funny thing,
I'm telling you.
because people say, oh, it's raining, oh, the wind's blowing, oh, it's this, it's that.
Well, it's
Inhibiting
not-
that
there is no
That's
perfect
her.
setup
No.
with
south of Yuba City with my club, I
a screen like this.
son and my
And
grandson.
also, I mean,
Okay.
we are
January.
supposed to really discuss stuff together,
My
right?
son,
I'm on a couple of other boards.
I
And what we have is
T-shirt.
one long table.
But he- big long table, it was warm. No wind, no nothing, clear, lovely day. By 10:30, we killed 7.
So, you know,
And it was just, and there wasn't a bunch, it was like.
Just the
2 here,
camera that you get from it.
there, 1 here,
and
4 here.
we back in-
My pockets otherwise. Keep it back behind the bar.
You just don't know. Yeah.
So it's been years since I've been duck hunting. Yeah, I learned, I don't want to pull. I don't mind being cold. Okay?
Well, I don't like being cold.
I don't mind being wet.
2:30 in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning, but
I don't mind being warm, cold, or even not wet. But when you're duck hunting, somehow you get wet and cold.
No,
And I, no,
I have
Taking that out.
all the. clothing to stay dry.
Yeah.
Stay-
Yep, one topic.
Yep.
Yeah, and Alan's like, but-
Five heavy socks.
you need the gavel.
Guaranteed.
Huh, we need a gavel. I just had hoped you'd be
We-
on
we'd
the
have
other
to.
side, so it would be quiet. I wonder if it's in the storage room.
I've been,
Oh, well.
I know,
Man, look at my whole life. I've never had that happen.
John, you.
One pair of.
The money stuff.
Assuming it was from me.
Yeah, it's
Pretty funny.
What a deal. I mean,
Pretty
I
funny.
would
I'll find
have
out.
in my. You know, usually
Is it time?
Old Mac.
It's time.
Mac got phone,
Then I'll be accused of breaking.
Yes.
Yeah, and I've got, and she's got one on. All around loudspeaker.
Hey, Jackie, can we make selfies later?
Sorry.
Thank you. Okay, let's start this meeting. Thank you very much for attending this meeting. This is a business meeting open to the members of the Nepenthe Association and guests of the board. The Nepenthe Board of Directors is a policy board, and the role of the general manager is to oversee the day-to-day operations. The primary purpose of the meeting is to ensure that the association is meeting its responsibility to provide oversight, maintain the value of the property, and to serve the homeowners. First, a message from the board. On behalf of the board, I would like to sincerely apologize for not informing the homeowners in a timely manner regarding the landscape projects that's currently going on. The board met on a Wednesday and made the decision what to do. And the landscape company started right the next day. And we did not have enough time to actually send out a message to the homeowner to inform the homeowners. So again, our sincerest apology on that. The directors met this afternoon in a long executive session, and we discussed discipline and personal matters, and the contracts and proposal and/or service agreements were approved as follows. An exterior maintenance and service agreement with Carson Landscape with locked-in price for 2024, 2025, and 2026 was approved at a monthly cost of $48,880. The agreement also includes an approved maintenance budget for additional service. Then the proposal in the amount of $30,680 for the Grove Total Tree Care for recommended tree work in Zone 7. And then the proposal in the amount of $1,770.92 for e-decision for a camera modification to reduce the number of on-site visits for the surveillance system. And then actions were taken specific to members' discipline and owner requests. And no action was taken at the November 15th executive session. Now we're coming to the first report, the construction manager report. Before we go there, I think I saw Will. Bill Henley and I will actually meet next week on the 12th.
Yes, we're meeting on the 12th with Paul Reeves.
Okay.
To go over the construction schedule. He's going to share with us processes on phase 1 and looking forward to phase 2 and discuss the what apparently is going to be a extension of phase 1 going from, we thought we'd be wrapped up in March, but it's getting pushed out to June, so.
I know I talked today to CPR and to the painters. And I keep forgetting that before they paint, they have to power wash the house too. That actually adds some time between the siding project and the paint. So they have to wait a little bit. And I was told they are at this point like 3 days behind the schedule of what we have on our schedule. So, okay. Okay, I tried to go closer to the microphone. Is that better? Okay. All right. So now do we have Will Wizar?
I really don't have anything to add to what the board's already aware of. Your meetings are more recent than mine even. So other than the fact that, as you know, we're running about 100% over original estimate, original bid price, and slightly behind schedule on time. But the rest, I think you're more aware, more up to date than I am.
Okay, thank you, Will. Anybody else have anything to say about that?
I do want to note that we will have Paul Reeves speaking at our January meeting to give the community an update on the projects. That's the plan.
This is the first meeting of the year when he's
Yeah.
coming? Okay. Okay. All right. Then we go to the general manager's report.
Okay, in addition to the work order report that's included in every board packet, I just had a few general things to go over. It's been talked about that Russo Insurance, our broker, has sold their company. They didn't close down, but they did sell their company to a larger business by the name of Labar Oxney. I've been notified that this will not change Nepenthe's policy, farmers policy, and will have all the same Russo contacts. So I just want to share that. And then also share that the board's going to be meeting with Wood Rogers. Wood Rogers is a consultant company that provided a report back in January of 2019 concerning our water meter installation project. So after that meeting, we hope to have some more information that I could start sharing on a regular basis in the newsletter, just keeping everybody updated on what's going on with that effort. So the board meets with them next week, and we hope to know some more information, and that information will be put in the newsletter. Lastly, I believe we have Jerry and Marcy that would like to say something real quick.
Okay.
I'm Jerry Gelfand, 406 Elmhurst Circle. There's a little something coming around, some items for each of the board members. And these items represent a thank you from a great many of our Nepenthe residents. They have asked me to let you know how valued you are and to thank you for all the generous time and effort you put into what you do. It is appreciated, and we wanted to let you know that. So thank you to all of you, and we wish you all a very happy holiday.
Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. That was unexpected and not on the agenda. Thank you so much. Okay, that kind of. So I have a couple of questions actually. regarding the work orders. So the very first one, I guess I'm assuming it's a homeowner request about a fence the back fence by the gate. Isn't this something that we should actually have CPR look into instead of utilizing Mike from Elite? Instead of,
That would be on the board's preference.
I would really, since we have the fencing company on site, I don't really want to spend money on, not that we don't want to do it, but I would rather have CPR look at it, because if this is a fence that would have to be replaced, then we pay
What page is
twice.
this on?
What's that?
What page?
Oh, sorry, 42,
42? Thank you.
The very top.
very top.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Page 42 at the top. All right, great.
So could we,
I think the overall consensus with assigning it to Mike with Elite Service Experts first is to get a look at it and then cross-reference that to where CPR is. Of course, if it's in the line of travel of where CPR is going to be, I think it's conducive to bring them in on it. If CPR has already been there, but they didn't replace that section of fence, it's just an existing gate that CPR had nothing to do with, then that would be appropriate for us to assign to Elite in that case.
okay, but, all right, okay. If they have how about that? If they have already been there
Mhm.
and they have not touched the fence, does this make sense? Then we could pass it on to Elite.
Well, I think this is in Swarthmore, so these guys right now, which was zone 2, so I think they're in zone 4 right now, so sometimes I guess might be just quicker. I don't know.
So if this is upcoming on
Upcoming.
CPR's path of travel, you want me to involve
Yes,
CPR?
yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yes.
yeah, we could do that.
And then the other question that I have is, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Oh my God, 8 or so roof situations. How much are we paying for advanced roofing to come out for each time to look at these roofs?
Basic visit and visual inspection usually runs about $190.
Who asks for this? The homeowner? Or how
So-
does this come about?
In most cases, it's based off a homeowner service request, where they indicate that there's, a spot on the ceiling or something that we in the office cannot make a determination on. So we have to have our vendor verify.
So,
Charges per visit?
They do.
They do.
For the visit and the inspection.
So I would like to set up a meeting with these guys, because I kind of disagree with that. We give them enough work and enough money that there are companies out there, roofing companies out there that are actually doing a free inspection. I'm not saying they need to do free work, but I think we need to negotiate with them a little bit. And also look into maybe different vendors.
Okay.
Um,
We could definitely do that. That's a board directive.
What do you guys think on that?
I think it's always good to question, particularly if it's just a quick inspection. And that many times those are just, incidental charges, but let's look at the total picture. Have a meeting with them, talk about them.
Okay, can we?
Yeah, I think talking about it makes sense, but also whether or not we can group a few of these together. If there's not a major leak, can they come out and do 2 or 3 at one time?
Well, that's what I was hoping we can discuss with them, because these are, a lot of several issues, a lot of call outs.
They usually, roof inquiries usually increase this time of year because of the weather, because
Sure.
of what, people see when it starts to rain, concerns are brought up. Maybe stains on the ceiling that they didn't notice right away that they're noticing, all of a sudden come up, but it's just one of those preventative measures that that we have to take to make sure that it's getting evaluated and we know what the issue is and that it's being fixed. But yes, and it's the case with most companies that if you call them out, they're going to charge for that time to come out and conduct the visual inspection.
Well, how about if we look into this?
Let's look into it because if I recall correctly, we've got provisions for roof inspections and
Mhm.
let's dig into it, okay?
Okay, no problem.
Okay, that's all I found on that report.
Okay.
Then we'll come to the committee updates. Finance Committee. Is Susan Timmer around?
Yes, I am. Good evening.
Hi, Susan.
There. I don't really have anything to add to the minutes. Does anybody have any questions for me?
No, Susan, as we're looking into 2024, we talked about delving into the reserve study and also having a reserve education or accounting education session. I think Dusty and Tara we're working on getting that scheduled. I don't know that we've got that scheduled yet, but maybe what was late January, early February.
Correct. Yes, something along the lines of a budget forum that we had last year and the year before. Yeah, to educate a little bit more about, especially this next year, which is a site visit year. With Browning coming out, we'll have his attention on all different parts of the community, all of our assets, and he kind of makes a renewed effort to evaluate them and look at their estimated life, and those things really have a big impact on our budgets and some of the important metrics that our community loves to look at.
Have we talked to Bob Browning about setting a date? Because I know last time he was here, he said he's going to be booked up very quickly. Have we contacted him for an appointment?
That's a really great question, Marcus. I don't know that we have. I think it would be a great thing to get on the calendar. Dusty, you can start that conversation going about setting up a meeting. That'd be great. I know he said he mentioned that we should start in January, start talking about what the process was going to look like and when he was going to come out and do his on-site visits.
Okay, thank you, Susan. Outreach Committee.
Am I close enough?
You want to take it out and hold it?
Pick it up. Oh, I can do that. Okay, my name is Marcy Best. I'm Chair of the Outreach Committee. And as you may know, and hopefully you do know, that we are having a Christmas party this Saturday. And certainly we'd hope to see everyone there. Based on the participation of the community in our outreach events, we have generated enough funds to support this party without any participants paying for it. And I really want to thank folks for all the time that they have spent through this last year to help us get these events off the ground and participate. So it's been a great year, and we'll look forward to another great year. So I also wanted to make sure the board members knew that they were totally invited to come to this and enjoy themselves too. We are now starting to think about New Year's Eve, and it will be a lot more casual event. And we're thinking about maybe a pajama party. So the other thing is, as we look into the new year, if anyone has any ideas about what they would like us to focus on, that would be great. We just need some new ideas. So if you have one, talk to any of the outreach members and we will see if we can do it. And that's about it.
Well, thank you very much.
Marcy, do you want to explain what's happened? I know this year the committee has set up an accounting system or a tracking system for your money. And can you want to explain that to the community?
Okay, yeah. One of the things we've been trying to do over the year is capture how we handle our funds. And it had been a little loosey-goosey, so now we have some pretty strong protocols. So if a member of the committee or anyone spends any money on our activities, there is a form that they fill out, telling us that what they bought, who they are, what event it was for, and did they get prior approval to spend that money from either Cheryl or myself. And then Cheryl or myself will actually sign that and submit it with their receipts to the office. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and the income comes back to the office and it has its own general ledger number, correct?
Yes, we do have a ledger number and anybody can see it. Okay.
Great. Thank you very much, Marcy. ARC, Alan Waters.
Good evening. I'm Alan Waters, Chair of the Architecture Review Committee. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Good. Do any of the directors, I don't have anything to add to the committee minutes. Do any of the directors have any questions?
Alan, a rumor has it that ARC may be working on a new or an updated form for home improvements.
Early in the year, we revised the architectural guidelines document. And that hasn't been, now it's back in my ballpark. I need to look, Dusty has given it to me and I need to look at changes suggested by the attorney. And I think maybe some of the forms were updated also, or have potential updates as well. I'm not quite sure which one you're asking
Okay,
about,
so
Marcus.
where are we on this?
I need to look at the document and make some changes.
Okay, thank you.
And then get it back to Dusty. And I'm sorry I'm late, but
No, so then it goes back to the attorney after you're done? That's what
I think you could ask Dusty that. I think it probably will.
For any pending changes that the architectural committee would like to propose, and then those new changes will go for legal review before the 28-day commenting period for the whole association.
I think I had a question. There's an emergency approval of security cameras. Is that correct? Or because I think that was a rule that was adopted back in 22, I think, where the general manager signs off on this. But I see that can you explain just a little bit on that, Alan? What?
Yes. It came in via a regular application, although it was noted on it that it was an emergency. And I checked in with our general manager. He, as you all know, has been very, very busy trying to master and deal with all the things that are going on. So, in fact, we have not had any actual emergency security camera application. I think this was adopted maybe in 2020. I had forgotten we had such a thing, and she was not familiar with it.
It wasn't in 2020, so it must have been in 2022. It was the previous board that did this. So whatever, but.
Yes, anyway, it was a couple of years old. We hadn't had it. So I said the committee would handle it and look into it. come with a recommendation. So we handled it like a regular application and approved it. The homeowners wanted to move forward a bit more quickly. So they submitted the other documents, the emergency request, to the general manager, and I believe Dusty was kind enough and signed it. So I noted that, but we still have the application. I thought the board may want to just give its own approval to the application as well.
So but the guidelines say the board needs to give approval in the
Yeah,
ARC
there seems to-
guidelines.
There
There
seems
seems to be
to
a contradiction here.
Yes, there seems to be a contradiction. And in fact, since the emergency, this emergency application can be signed immediately by, that is, if all the documentation is in place, signed off on by the general manager hasn't been used. I was going to talk to the committee, and if the committee agrees, perhaps make a request to the board that we simply eliminate this emergency security camera application thing.
Yeah, because it's kind of complicated, the whole installation process. et cetera.
Yes.
So I was just wondering if you haven't had any emergency, is that you're suggesting perhaps that we take, go back to just a regular, delete this?
Yes. Delete the form and delete the
The
approval
rule.
for
Right.
the general manager being able to sign off.
And so that would be something that the
So what
ARC
camera,
committee-
what cameras are we talking about? Is it, I mean, what is a Ring camera? Is a Ring camera part of this camera, or is it actually camera strictly? well,
Ring cameras, as far as I know, are video doorbells, and they are not
Yes.
controlled by the HOA.
okay,
And I
okay.
think you did this because the security companies would put cameras up, and therefore you thought that it would be faster if the general manager just did this as opposed to going through the committee and the board. But
This was in response to some break-in burglaries that occurred several years ago. Windows are broken, unpleasant things, and it was thought that it would be good to have some fast track for this. But one of the criteria we look at, of course, is where the cameras are aimed. We prefer that they not have a point of view that encompasses any part of the common area or any of the neighbors' homes and things like that. So we want to preserve people's privacy. So that's what we're really trying to check on and ascertain.
so do we wait therefore for the committee to come back to us and to determine as to whether or not we want to keep the emergency security
Could-
camera approval?
Could the board wait till the committee meets? The committee did
Yes.
not actually meet in person last month. So we didn't discuss it.
Okay, that's fine. Thank you.
Okay, let's
Thank
do
you.
that. All right. Okay, thank you, Ellen.
Thank
There
you.
was another one though, where there's 712 Dunbarton Circle, where recommendation has been denied, a denial recommended. on-
Yes,
Can you tell us, this is a HVAC replacement?
yes. Well, we, Home has had 3 gas lines rising vertically from the ground level, almost the ground level, up to the attic level for a number of years. And there's a gas furnace in the attic. So all we have to use is our current rules, which say that gas lines need to be secreted or installed within the exterior walls. And we don't have a provision for doing anything else other than recommending that. So even though this, these pipes probably have been in place for probably 20 years plus or minus, the committee is not really, I think, allowed to take that into consideration.
So the
It's up,
home
I think,
received a gas meter in 2000,
yes.
right?
All that's in the record is that a gas meter was received. Doesn't say anything about pipes or excuse me, gas lines running on the exterior of the house.
Well, I do remember this because I did install a gas meter and obtained approval for it in 2000, as a matter of fact.
Yes.
And as far as the rules are concerned, it did not, we had the positioning of the gas meter was very clear, 6 to 18 inches, I believe it is. And we always had the lines going in. It was not actually mentioned in the gas line criteria, I remember.
Yes.
But I was looking at some of the notes I had back when I had actually installed this. And it does not actually mention that the lines have to go in, under the siding or inside the
Yes.
house.
Correct.
But I did do that at my house in 2000 when that happened. And the idea was that the rule was that we maintain the aesthetic look of the association. So it's interesting that a lot of the lines that were installed, at least in my house, was all inside the house. And I don't think we would have got permission otherwise, but it doesn't really state very clearly.
No, it did not state that anything at all, one way or another, about exterior gas lines running either vertically or horizontally. We've had some recently that run horizontally. They need to run around several facades to get to the base of the chimney.
And so these lines, we don't know when they were actually, I doubt it was done in 2000 because they were so strict at the time. I remember having to put in so many countless forms in order,
Yes.
and designs and the whole work. So I don't know. So how do we, so are we supposed to be, is this in the agenda for us to review this, Dusty? It is in here. Okay. Okay. All right. Great. Thank you.
So
Thank you.
you're recommending denial of this because of the line on top of this?
My belief is that the ARC needs to operate under its current rules, be guided by its current rules, and that's what we're doing. However, the board may decide that this existing gas line could be grandfathered in if it's been there 10 or 20 years. And Nepenthe has not objected to it this time, for example. Although, of course, that creates perhaps another problem with other homeowners who say, well, so-and-so has this, why can't I have it too?
Well, I hate to go against ARC's recommendation. I mean, then it defeats the purpose of having committees. So, and they do a lot more research, deeper research and more detailed research than us 5 here. So I would.
We get to that in the agenda. We can.
Correct.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Thank
All right.
you.
Okay. Well, I think anything else for Alan? All right. Well, thank you, Alan. Appreciate it.
Thank you all.
Okay. ILS. Anybody here from ILS?
Ricardo? Do you want to talk about ILS meeting?
Yes.
The mic, because people on Zoom.
Ricardo Pineda, 1013 Dunbarton Circle. I'm a member of the ILS committee. Well, I don't have the meeting notes in front of me. We had a meeting last month and we meet next week. We continue to talk about the potential of recommending the board consider purchasing an automatic electronic defibrillator and perhaps providing Red Cross training for the AED or Red Cross type training for the AED and for CPR. And I volunteered to get a cost estimate of that issue. And we discussed an article that I had read in the San Francisco Chronicle about someone who was teaching a dance class in Golden Gate Park, and he was having a health issue. Somebody at the class ran into the DeYoung Museum, which I guess is adjacent to Golden Gate Park, and asked to borrow the defibrillator. And because of potential theft, they would not loan it to him, even though he put his watch up as for collateral. And that person, that 70-year-old dance instructor, passed away. So just mention that as a possibility. And I think somebody at the Sacramento Kings game had a medical emergency the other night and also passed away. I don't know if it was a heart issue. So I think that I don't believe there's a legal issue. I know the ILS has asked the board to
check with the attorney if there's any additional liability. I think there's some good Samaritan law. And I think it would be, I think the ILS committee believes it would be a good long-term investment for the safety of people who participate in gatherings here to have an AED on site and to train people who want to be trained on how to use it. I know we discussed other things. We continue to discuss flood insurance and potentially having another flood insurance forum in the near future. Some statements were made at the last open board meeting here that were not correct about how flood insurance through FEMA's National Flood Insurance Program works, but we weren't able to correct those at that meeting. So I think we're looking at maybe March potentially to have another forum, since the issue continues to be discussed because of the increasing cost. Being involved with flood insurance for my work, I'm just a part-time worker for the state now as a retiree. The various reforms to the NFIP, there can be a maximum increase, I believe, of 18% a year in the NFIP premiums. And we only saw from last year to this year a 6% increase. So I think we're getting, in my impression, we're getting a pretty good deal. And because FEMA is using the same type of models for determining the actuarial risk, they're called catastrophic risk models. They're used for like natural disaster analysis, that the private sector, the difference between private sector cost and FEMA cost are getting closer and closer. So at least the sense right now is stick with the FEMA insurance until there's major legislation that would change things. There probably were other items discussed, but I just can't remember them off the top of my head since I wasn't exactly prepared to talk today. So, but I think everything was in the minutes. Thank you. Happy to answer
Ricardo,
any questions.
question, yes. The defibrillator, how much is that? Have you guys looked into what are the costs? What are the maintenance fees? Do they have to come out on a, I don't know, whatever basis, monthly basis, 6 months or so to check it, or how does that work?
Yeah, Marcus, what popped into my mind when you asked that question was, I think the San Francisco Chronicle article said that they're about $2,000. And so I think when you purchase them, there you have to do regular maintenance. And I know at work, my work office, they were looking for volunteers to, I don't know, check the battery level or do some type of check. So some records have to be kept. I think when you purchase it, when we start looking at all various companies that provide them, we'll look at, what the maintenance is. But I think the base price has come down since they're probably producing more of them, down to like $2,000.
We just had Black Friday. We missed that one.
Excuse me?
Never mind. Maybe I said we missed Black Friday.
Black Friday.
Maybe we should look into that and
The ILS look into it.
okay.
Yeah.
Can you guys do this?
Yeah, I think I was asked to do some research, and I'm not sure if I'll get the memo written with cost estimates, but we'll get some cost estimates. And
That
then
would be
also
great
for
if you-
the training, I mean, first aid, CPR, AED training, I think everybody could benefit.
If we could have something in writing so we can actually look at it and discuss it, that'd be great.
Yeah. Well, I want to repeat that the previous discussions I heard relative to the board prior to my wife and I purchasing a unit here was that it would increase the liability. So that probably there still needs to be
Well, that's something we
a
need.
legal check, but I think it could save a life, if we ever had that circumstance.
Would,
We'll,
just
we'll,
out of
we'll
cu-
check with legal what the implications will be if we have one of those. How about that? All right,
Good.
thank you. Next, grounds. Anybody here from grounds? Is Jim
Okay,
Ca-
I guess not. No one, doesn't seem to be anybody here. Dale is here, but not Jim. So, and Pam Livingston can't be here today. Yes, I know, but she's not Jim.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, okay, so we're just
Okay.
gonna just keep, so I'll just, yeah, Jim is not around, so. there are a couple of things I'd like to mention. Are we all good? There are a couple of things I'd like to mention in grounds. Perhaps one of the items that we were discussing at the last grounds meeting was the Assembly Bill 1572 with we really need to come up with a plan so that we are to come in to ensure, I guess, or to be in compliance with AB 1572. That's something which is, I think it's going to be January 1st, 2019, when it's going to be in effect so far. So
I actually talked to First Service on that.
yes.
To keep us informed. They hear more about this, and
Well, yeah, in theory, yes. But I know Cheryl has been looking into this. And so since we do need to come up with a plan
yes,
to ensure that we're in compliance, I thought maybe, Cheryl, maybe you can just give us an update as to if you know anything further on this.
Sure. What I know is, in addition to Marcus asking First Service and Dusty to keep us abreast of what's happening, I've attended a CAI, which is Community Association Institute speaker forum, where they had attorneys talking about the current laws and what was changing in this last year. So we know 1572 was signed in October. What it talks about is non-productive turf and using potable water to irrigate it. What we don't know is how it's going to progress. One of the things that's up in the air is whether or not there's going to be litigation about the law. That's always a potential. We also don't know how it's going to be developed. There are going to have to be regulations written. The State Water Control Board is in charge of this. It's a statewide program, so they're going to write the regulations, and the enforcement will come through our local water supplier. For us, that's the city of Sacramento. There are some deadlines. However, they seem to move. I have an article here from the Bee that talks about it being one date, but it's saying that's for commercial buildings, which is different from HOAs. One of the reasons there might be litigation is that HOAs are singled out, but not apartment houses or other types of living arrangements. So there's potential, and the best source for that information will come from the homeowners association, like First Service, because they represent so many HOAs throughout the state and throughout the country. So the things we need to be abreast of are the definitions that come from the State Water Resources Control Board. One of the things that I noticed in reading the bill is that it says any turf that's fenced cannot be irrigated with potable water. And that leaves me wondering what happens with an HOA that's a gated community. What is the definition for a fence? What's the definition for some of the things that they talk about for space? It's clear that we should be able to defend our green belts, but it also mentions in nebulous language that they need to be designated this, that, and the other. Well, what does designated mean? There's a lot of that to be looked into. One of the clear things in the law is that says there's nothing intended in the law that any agency should pay for any of these changes. If there's going to be financial support, it's going to come from the local water boards, local government. So we have a number of steps to go through before we know more about it, but we are paying attention and we are following the law and following everything we can find about what's happening.
And I'm just wondering, since we're meeting with Kevin Gustav from Wood Rogers, who's the water person, we can get some more information perhaps from him as well next week. I mean, I'm sure he has some updates as well.
We should give him heads up that we might want to talk about this. Can you reach out?
Yeah,
Okay.
just the assembly bill on that one. So that would be good, because right now we're a little bit in a flux, because we have, I mean, here, this file, for instance, here is what all homeowner requests that I have. And that has come since March of 2023 to now. I mean, literally just a few days ago, I've got some more.
What kind of?
And all of these, for instance, are then I go out with the zone stewards, the respective zone stewards for each of these areas, and we take a look at that. And what we do is what we use is the ranking plan that that Cheryl actually created last year when you were the board liaison. I
Yeah,
was working
Right,
as the chair.
ranking plan.
The
yeah.
ranking plan, which
yeah.
we have here, and that's what we use, and that you created that, and the board not the board, grounds committee adopted that in October last year.
Yes.
And we've been working with that. We work with this, the zone stewards, but this is a lot of requests we get. A lot of them also is talking about turf and wanting remediation. And so far, we're just saying right now is there's going to be no remediation done for turf. Nothing is that in the pipeline there until we figure out what's happening with AB 1572. But this is a process. So there are a lot of homeowners who have issues and are submitting, and we are trying to accommodate them in, I think we did the 20 locations, for instance, a lot of them include homeowner requests plus zone walks, which we've been incorporating into the homeowner requests incorporated into the zone walks. But it's a lot of work goes into this and to try and figure out, and we're using your plan that you created, which is extremely helpful.
Well, I think one of the things that I'm concerned about the 1572 is what we replace.
Yeah.
And I know we have a vision plan, we have a plant palette, but not all of those things are really clear about how we're going to use.
So what we're doing right now is in the remediations we're doing, and we have done before, is that we are not putting any turf in, but in certain areas where we have small areas of turf and where we have the rotary heads, which is we're capping those, removing some of the turf in there, and then creating some planter beds, and we're changing everything to drip. And for the trees, we're putting netofilm so that they get water. So that's what is happening right now. But where areas where they just want turf done, we're not doing anything.
Right.
there.
Well, I also had gotten some suggestions to look at what Park Corporation has. They have a well, and the well supplies water to the area around their ponds. I'm not sure that 1572 applies to Park Corporation because it's not an HOA, but I did go up and look at their equipment, look at what they have, how it works. And maybe Wood Rogers can help us with this a little bit, but it looks pretty impractical for us. We've got 7 controllers for our water. We'd need then, if we wanted to save all of our turf, 7 wells, 7 pumps, 7 electrical supplies, and 7 containers or housings for those things. So I think that's kind of off the table, which means to me that we're going to see a lot of transition in the type of
Yes.
landscaping we have.
Yes, and that's an expensive option as well, a proposition. I mean, it's not going to be an easy feat. So hopefully, maybe in the meantime, something does happen with AB 1572, and that perhaps we don't go through with it. I don't know, but we just have to take a look. In the meantime, where we can remediate, we do.
Have we talked to Carson about that? What they know about it, what they have heard?
Yeah, well, yes, we've done that, but again, they're in the same situation as us. I just have one last thing to talk about though, is the shrub removals that we have done in zone 4 right now, with the one where we did not advise the homeowners for. I'm just wondering if you'd be able to pull up the PowerPoint. And I think just a good idea for you who haven't been looking at it, just if you can bring that up. So just, yeah, so it's just, okay, so we just taken this is Okay, okay. So this is the land, okay, here we go. Okay, perfect. So you'll see that that's the boxwood shrubs, for instance, right alongside the siding. So let's, if you can just go to the next slide. These are shrubs where we have removed in zone 4 currently. You will see that there are a lot of roots there right by these gas meters. And we also find these, and the roots are, I mean, all along that narrow area. One of the problems that CPR is finding, and same with Paul Reeves, has said that the problem here is that the roots are the problem. They go under the foundation, they go into the pipes, and that's when we get all sorts of drainage issues. So for them, for a narrow area like that, we really need to remove the shrubs. So next slide. Here's one where the shrub has been prevented access to siding and fence. Now, this is a maple there, and we got a call from Paul Reeves that we needed to remove that because they could not get access to the fence and they could not get access to the siding. You'll see all the crosses there. So I was able to get Carson to come along, and I asked him if he could perhaps transplant that maple. That's about a $500 right now maple. There's a beautiful, beautiful tree. So they did move it out. They pulled that out. We were able to transplant it across. I hopefully it works. I don't know. So the next slide. Now that is the area where the shrub was, the maple was removed. To give you an idea, that's why, you know, this is the amount of access they need at the removal site. Next one.
Hold on a second. So see that downspout and that.
Yes. Yep, exactly. That's the issues we have.
We've had several, well, I have had several calls from Paul Reeves, and he's been complaining about some of those downspouts. And then we talked to Oscar actually about that situation too. They are creating puddles. They are
drainage issues.
Drainage issues. They are going too low. They're too low, and then some of those drains they're actually not maintained and not cleaned out.
One of the problems also, like Paul Reeves and Mike of CPR have also commented on, is all these shrubs which are, they need a clearance of 2 feet for them to do any work. The other problem, though, is that the shrubs is what's creating the dry rot in the siding because they're too close. So if it's anything less than 2 feet, that's where the problem is. And you can see the dry. We went walking around with him today, as a matter of fact, and I'm sure you can update us on that. But that's what sort of the site that they need. So next slide. So we're back again to that same spot where we had to just clean out everything. You'll see all this new siding that they had to put up. They were able to put up, new fence went in there. The whole area had to be cleared out. Next. So this is another problem. We saw this area on the left. These were the shrubs, which are quite a distance away from the house. And we decided, okay, that doesn't need to be removed. That shrub looks perfectly all right. We then got a call a few days ago, from, again, Paul Reeves saying you need to remove the shrubs that you see on the left because we can't get the ladders there. You have to remove that. So that suddenly came in at the last minute. We had to remove it. The picture on the right is what it looks like now that the shrubs were removed. So they were able to put their ladders there. They had this, it was too dangerous otherwise. But now we're stuck in the situation of, yep, the shrubs were removed. Now we have to do remediation, obviously, there, and that was not in the plan. Next. So this is an area here where plantings interfered with the detection of siding problems. So we had to remove all of those shrubs there in order for them to be able to do work. And you can see the extent of the new siding and how close those roots are to that area. And this is one of the things I'm sure Paul Reeves will be talking about when he is here next month about this.
Well, that causes also them falling behind, extra work with, and I heard today they were bringing in, or they did bring in extra painters, but now the weather is changing again.
Yes.
So they're really trying hard.
Yes. Oh, yes, and but you can, so now, so if you go to the next slide. And that's again, and give you a good idea of how close the shrubs and trees are planted too close to the house, and which damages the siding and fencing. And that's again, all new fencing there, as in progress. And we had to remove all the shrubs there for them to be able to get access. Next slide. Again, there's a good example again of all the siding, and you'll see that's the one we actually saw today. There's a root which is uprooting that slab there with the HVAC unit.
Under that HVAC system
Yep.
is a massive root.
root. And so we have to remove that root since it's out there. But all that fencing, everything, the whole area there, we had to remove all the shrubs for them to get access.
And so I talked to Oscar about also grading the soil, but they're hesitant because of those flags, because that's, I think, smut.
Yes, correct.
And so
Yeah,
they have to be
that's
careful on
right.
that part.
That's why we had to wait for the utilities to come out. But also one of the things that we also found out today is that, and it says here on the slide, that the removal of planting speeds siding, fencing, and painting work. And that's exactly what has happened. They have actually gone through a lot faster in this area, in these areas, since they don't have to work their way behind a lot of the shrubs. But in these cases, if anything is less than 2 feet away, they cannot get access to any of the work. For the shrubs, yes. Yes, yes, exactly.
So some of
them are.
So when we looked at today, we let them show us what they want from us, right? When I say they, it's a CPR. And then when they pointed to some of the hedges, we asked Oscar, can we prune them? Can we prune them so that they have access? And some of them can be pruned, but some of them, if you prune them for the access, you have nothing but wood or sticks left. And that's when we make the decision. It's just easier for their access and for beautification just to take them out. And then once...
Yeah, and some of these instances where they really cannot get access to the siding, they cannot get access to the fencing. And so that's what we did this morning, to look at the next area which is coming up, because we really need to look at the budget, the costings, et cetera, how we are going to move forward on that bill as well. So,
and it's a challenge
yes,
to coordinate far enough ahead for the gardeners to remove what needs to be removed. So first, CPR does they do their inspection. Then they need to let us know, and the gardeners know what they want. So we don't want to remove the bushes, obviously, too far in advance. I mean, I know we've done that now, but it's extremely difficult to coordinate all this appropriately, and financially also sensitive, because we can't just do one house at a time. So, and then we have to wait for the pressure washing.
Yeah,
Then we have to...
well, right now, for instance, let's take the current area here. We're talking to the painter who is doing one side on Dunbarton. Well, once they have to finish the whole alleyway, the whole several areas before we can come in and do the remediation. So we're looking at another 2 to 3 weeks before we can even do anything, because they have to first finish the painting. Once they finish the painting in that particular alleyway, which is the 1,000, they then move on to the 800, but then remediation can start in the 1,000. And so that immediately will happen.
Today I realized, they're trying to work efficient with the painting, so they have different paints, right? Different colors. So that dawned on me too. I mean, they can't just paint this side and then all of a sudden this side of the alley is actually a different color. So they have a system.
Correct.
I'm wondering, and I know we did, CPR went through and looked at things. We had black marks at one point, and CPR found other things that were red marks. When we've pulled out those that are really close, have we found more that needs to be marked with
Yes, it's
red?
been unbelievable. I mean, that's.
Don't go there. We
don't
saw
even
this
go- yeah,
today.
It was,
I mean,
it's crazy. It's,
it was,
there's no way they could tell. So we have the schedule for the next, this is supposed to be finished by the middle of January. All of this in this particular area. Then they're starting in 700 Dunbarton, 700, 500. And that's scheduled to start at the end of January, actually end of January, 31st of January. And so we are meeting again with Mike from CPR to go through again to see, and then actually mark certain areas. They have to tell us now which ones have to be removed. What do we need to do over here so that we can then have a plan as to how we move forward. And that's where we have to look at what the costing is going to be, et cetera. But, and there are several instances today where he did mention they can't even get there. You have to remove it. So we don't want to we don't want what's been happening is that they have been contacting Dusty and asking her, hey, Carson needs to go out there and remove this shrub, that shrub. And the problem is they go out there and that's charge. And then we don't have a remediation plan in. So at least now, if we go and take a look, we have a remediation plan. We can budget something. We can have a plan here. And I think that's what we're trying to do.
plus we have homeowners that want to take some of the trees in their patio out.
Yes.
Will makes it actually easier if since the fence has to be removed or replaced, I should say, they have easier access for their trees to be removed.
Yes. Well, in one instance, Paul actually was able to, one of the homeowners did come out and she had a tree in her patio. And so I know we were there together, Cheryl. And so we told her that her fence was supposed to be replaced. But I said, we have a problem replacing your fence because you've got a tree inside, which is with the roots is just lifting up the fence. So she asked us to come in and take a look. And it was clear that the tree did need to go because it was also lifting her HVAC system. So we had Paul Dubois come in and he did an emergency call to come out for her to remove the tree. And now she's getting the new fence being put in. So those are the things we have to do also to look at that, because we are spending quite a bit substantial amounts of money here on the siding and on the fencing. We just have to make sure we get it right. And which then goes back, by the way, to the other issue is when we start doing this type of work and we're looking at each area, we've got 5 and 6 coming up now as well in 2024. We might have to look at what the purposes would be of zone walks for which the grounds committee has been looking at, and those sort of things, maybe we can't do those and we have to just rely on if we have homeowner requests of certain things. But those are the things that we have to look at with the grounds committee to see how do we move forward on this. I mean, because if you're spending the funds on remediations here, I guess is the other issue.
Yeah, it seems really important to stay ahead of the siding rather than try to catch up behind the siding. But that really takes, like you said, Marcus, a lot of coordination.
It
I
was
hadn't thought about.
it
this
was an
before
eye opener
watching.
today.
That means a lot of coordination going in, and really we have to rethink for 2024 as far as what the grounds committee has been doing as far as zone walks are concerned. I think we now just have to concentrate on this and remediation here where we have to remove something because we can't do anything otherwise. So that's something that will be discussed with the grounds committee and with the board and with everybody here, how we move forward. And
Well, that's also
what the
something
funds,
we
what our budget's like.
Bill, we need to discuss this next week with Paul Reeves
Yeah.
as well.
Exactly. This is one of the things that we look at is the lead time on the front side and then the time to wrap it up on the
Yeah.
backside. And I'm sorry, and it really starts with the grounds or with the landscape, okay, walking it. And then after painting and that coming back in and re-landscaping.
Yeah,
And
because,
and
yes,
while you're doing that, you're also looking at the irrigation
yes. Oh,
because
yeah.
you're not, you know,
So
you're gonna
what's-
put in the right
yes.
irrigation for
Yes.
what.
So what we've done is in all these areas, all is going to be all drip. If there's taking out some of the netafilm, unless there's a tree, where there's a tree, we're using netafilm for irrigation, but otherwise all drip and capping the rotary heads. Okay, that's,
Makes sense.
yeah. Okay.
Okay, well, thank you for that long report.
Thank you for the slideshow.
Yes, thank you.
The old saying, a picture's worth 1,000 words. And it shows, okay, the challenges that we have. We've got a mature, community here and mature in many ways, siting, landscape. I'm not going to talk about me. I'm not mature yet.
No, but that's absolutely right, Bill. I mean, that's why I took these pictures, created this, did this. So
Yeah.
just gives an idea. And I'm glad that Paul Reeves is going to be here next month, so he can.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, did everybody have a chance to read the homeowners correspondence? Yes, okay. Again, homeowner comment and correspondence follow-up. Thank you, Cheryl, for that report. That was a long report. New business. We need to approve the minutes. Anybody wants to make a motion?
I move that we accept the minutes as written.
I'll second them.
I'll second.
Okay, Bill will second them.
That's okay. That's what erasers are made for, right, Rusty?
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Minutes are approved. All right. Financials. Bill, do you want to talk about financials?
We have the October financials. I reviewed them. I don't see any issues with them. I will note, previously I commented about investments and that stuff. We did receive a credit of approximately $22,000 from First Services for the missed reinvestment of funds. And that was for approximately 42 days that we were out on 3.7 million. So, we found out what the problem was. It was a simple clerical error somewhere between Morgan Stanley and First Service Financial, and First Services stepped up, which was great.
That was an amazing find. Thank you, Bill. Okay.
So covered your salary, almost covered your salary.
Do I get a raise?
Yes.
Architectural, the recommendations you heard from
Yep.
Alan.
So we got the 1041 Commons approval with conditions and a denial for 712.
Okay. Are
Based
we,
on the discussion I've heard,
Yeah, we've done that, so. Does
I would
anyone-
move that we accept the recommendations of the committee.
I second.
okay,
All in favor?
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, okay. Then we need a motion on the lien resolution.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Right?
Aye, okay. All right. So now we are coming to our homeowner forum. Anybody in the room? Mary?
Hi, good evening. I have just two questions for the board. The first is I was out walking and saw a tree behind 709 Dunbarton tagged for removal. And it was in the city right of way. And so then I noticed that Grove was cutting it down. So I called the city to find out who was paying for the removal of the city tree. And the city called me back and said that Nepenthe and Grove were fully aware that the city had the funds to pay for it, but they chose to spend homeowner dollars. So I'm not happy about that. That was specifically from the city of Sacramento, their words. So I would like to know why.
Thank you. We will check that.
The other thing is, and this is just, I never got the budget mailed to me. And Dusty helped me out, but I don't know, no one would know whether the budgets went out or not. So you might want to send out an email. I talked to 5 other people and they didn't get it either, but I surveyed here and most people seem to have gotten it. So maybe it's just a minor glitch, but I would think probably want to check on that since it's a requirement. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary.
This is my first board meeting. So anyway, a couple of things. When I was walking on the Kathy Matthews.
What's your name? I'm sorry.
Kathy Matthews. I was walking on the weekend and a lot of, beg your pardon?
You have
Is
to
that
get
better?
really close.
Is that better?
You
Okay.
almost have to eat it.
Oh, okay.
It's basically because of the people on Zoom. There's the camera right up there.
Okay.
That's
Just tell me. First of all, I was walking on the weekend and a lot of the gardeners are working on weekends. Do we pay extra for that? Because of the issue we're going through now? I asked the gardeners, I said, do you get paid overtime? And they said, no. So I don't know, but they were actually, it was some of those areas where they're completely debriding it because of the siding and stuff over on Elmhurst. So I don't know whether we're getting charged extra for weekend work or not.
What area did you see this
It
in?
was over by Elmhurst. So I did ask, but they said, no, they don't get paid overtime. So anyway,
They don't.
that was number one. Number two, if we have people who are having to remove things from their own gardens, they should be responsible for that, not the homeowners. If they're planting stuff in those areas that has to be removed, they should be responsible and pay for it.
They are. We do.
They do.
They do pay for their own removal.
Okay.
Yes.
And maybe something should be in the homeowner's notes when you buy a place that you're ultimately responsible for whatever.
Are we talking about homeowner planting in the common area?
No, you were talking about a tree that had to be removed.
No, no.
They paid for it.
They
paid for it.
Okay,
paid
that-
for it.
Yeah.
that wasn't
We just
clear.
want to give them adequate time
I agree.
so
No, I
they
agree with
can
that.
make arrangements. And I think they actually,
Anything inside the patio is a
yeah,
homeowner
yes.
expense.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah, we
That
do
was my
not
But
pay.
not like
Yeah,
a,
no.
if they need to remove a tree, for example, these 2 homeowners that we saw the other day, it made it easier for them to remove the tree when the fence is down.
Right.
So we coordinate, and again, the coordination is pretty extreme. I mean, so we take the fence down, they get the tree removed, and then we try to put the fence
Okay,
back
because
up.
it wasn't clear whether they were
Yes.
paying or not. And I
Sorry,
just wanted to.
yes.
Another thing, if I wanted something on the agenda, who do I talk to? I don't want to come up with it today because it's kind of complicated, but
It's,
I'm sorry, can you repeat the question?
no, I belong to another homeowners association somewhere else also. And when I moved into my place here in Campus Commons, I had a chimney man come out and check the chimneys. The chimney, my daughter had been living there for a while. The dryer wasn't working because it was blocked from the roof all the way down to the dryer, number one. And the fireplace in the upstairs bedroom, there were leaves in the fireplace that had been burnt. The guy had to he took out, I mean, it went all the way up to the roof, which is a real fire hazard. Where my other homeowners is, and I can do it another time if you'd rather, but we as homeowners are assessed every 2 years. It's paid out of our homeowners' dues to have our chimney inspection done in the month it's assigned. If we don't, we have to give proof to them that we have our chimney inspected. I think it's really a danger here. Dryer vents and chimney inspections, we could have a horrible fire. And it doesn't cost the homeowners much because if people don't comply with the date that we schedule it and you have everybody done in that month, then they have to pay themselves. But this was a suggestion. And the guy who did my chimney for me said that obviously this was from practically when this place was built. I mean, they were burnt leaves pulled out in the upstairs bedroom. It was horrible. And the dry vent was full all the way through. And we also have an aging population who, unless someone tells them to do it or helps them, it doesn't get done. So anyway, thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, Brian Coates. I spoke last month about this whole budget situation, and the question I have is, why don't we have a budget for the reserves? Because I've scrubbed this budget. I've put it, I have put it on a spreadsheet. I've scrubbed the budget. I know what the budget is. However, there is no budget for the reserves. That's my problem right now, because I don't know what you guys are spending money on or planning to spend money on. So why don't we have a budget for reserves?
Okay, thank you very much.
Oh, one more question. That thing you guys did today, the whole siding thing, that seems pretty extensive. Are we gonna try to mitigate that from happening like 20 years from now, like not plant trees so close? Or I mean, what are we doing for that?
That's a good point. That's exactly what we're doing.
Okay.
Putting it away from the siding. And that's absolutely right.
All right.
That's exactly it.
We'll do this side first and then go this side. All right. Nothing is in? Okay.
Don Lansell, Dunbarton Circle. Hi, guys, back in. Now you know what the front face looks like, not just the back. Last month, I made a couple of comments about the reserve. And in the reports, there was a question mark. I said that reserve doesn't need to be spent. And there was a question mark after that sentence. That wasn't a question on my part. That was a statement. That money does not need to be spent. It can be managed in something less. I also asked the question as a question of each one of the board members, particularly. Our budget for next year is 48.5% funded. I said, what would it take not to be spent to get that back up to say 60 or 65%? The response I got was basically what I would say I was shined on. The answer was, oh, look at the reports and the end of the calculation is simple. It's no more than this. I expect all of the board members to know what those numbers are. I would like to have the board members report back next month what those numbers are to go from 48% to 60%. No more calculation than that. Next, all of the money being spent and comments being spent on grounds. Christina, you've heard me say it a number of times. Marcus, you've heard me say it a number of times. We can't afford to wholeheartedly tear out and replace all of the shrubbery here. It's got to be done slowly. It's out of hand. It's gotten out of hand. And we all know when some of that started, we lost control of it. And it needs to be brought back in control. And that's part of managing that reserve budget. I saw the note that Christina, you held them up. I guess you got 55 was what we reported requests from homeowners.
Slightly more since.
Slightly more
then.
now. Well, maybe that's something that has been invited by the money that's being spent. And some of those homeowners are thinking, Well, I better get mine before it's all gone. I've been asking for X number of months or years for something done here. I'm gonna put my hand up again. So maybe it's something that's been invited by the way we've dealt with the monies and spent it. One other thing, if Alan is still on here, I heard just now that the siding people need 2 feet for their work. The allowance for building stuff is 18 inches. Thank you.
Thank you, Don.
Oh, you have two behind
Oh.
you.
Okay. Okay, Ricardo. And then Jerry. Okay, after.
Good evening, board members, and thank you for all your efforts in managing this great location for all of us to live. I have a longer comment that I'll do in the second one, but 2 items came up in the committee discussions, but we don't have an opportunity to comment during those. The first one I noted was the meeting with Wood Rogers. I'd like to be invited. I know a little bit about Wells and know a little bit about AB 1572. And my big beef with AB 1572 is that apartment complexes are exempt. They can keep their turf, their non-functional turf, but HOAs which have a similar density, meaning structure versus acreage, have to get rid of theirs. And I think that's kind of unfair and probably an issue of who lobbied the hardest. The second item was related to the discussion that Alan of the Architectural Committee had about the cameras and the criteria. And one of the board members was talking about that. I have purchased 2 Arlo cameras, and they're like a battery powered camera, so you don't have to run wires, and you charge them via a little cord, and then you have a little base station connected to your router. And those are painted kind of a gloss white. But the criteria in the form I got from Miss Betsy is that the cameras have to be painted the color of your house, which I think is ridiculous to put house paint on a very expensive camera. And if you just walk outside the patio here, you have white painted lights, gloss painted lights, and maybe cameras there in the pool deck area. So, you know, it doesn't make sense to me. And I think that criteria should be looked at, and I'll be putting an application in, and if it requires a variance, so I can mount the 2 white cameras, one above the garage and one on my front door. That's what I would be seeking, but you need to, you know, practice what you preach. If you've got gloss light fixtures and cameras here in the patio, homeowners should be able to have them too. Thank you. I'll save my last comment at the end because I want to read something. Thank you.
Thanks, Ricardo. Jerry? I have white cameras.
Hi, I'm Jerry Dunn. I want to talk, the dues increase, 8.5%. I think it's ridiculous, and I totally disagree with it. I don't think it's unnecessary. In the last 2 years, you raised our dues more than we did in the 4 prior years before that. It's totally unnecessary. The money, I have some questions. The interest that we gained on the reserve account, $344,000, there's no real accounting for that in the finances that we were provided. I'd like to see what happened to that money, and also about over $2 million, it looks like to me. And that was from the financials and the Brown report. It looks like we spent over $2 million from our reserve account, but there is no accounting for any of that money. The gentleman that asked of that we should have some accounting of that. I agree, that's a lot of money. That's $2.5 million. And it also appears that we will only add about 3.5% into our reserve account this year, which is, we've always had double-digit additions into our reserve accounts. And this is first year was only going to be about 3.5%. Again, this is according to the Browning report and the financial report that you gave to us. On top of that, I would like to say that I do applaud you for being proactive in topping the trees. I think that was a great idea. I meant to tell you at 106 Elmhurst, there's a tree that it looks like it's going to probably fall if we get a big wind and rain. It's behind 106 Elmhurst. 106, I'm sorry. But again, I do think we should have a report. If it's being spent on what it should be spent, I have no problem with that, but there should be an accounting of it.
Thank you, Jerry. Anybody else?
You have a lady in the back too.
I can't see behind me.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Amy Mickle. I live at 12 Adelphi Court, and I have a written correspondence. However, my written correspondence over the past several times has not been adequately answered. So I just want to make sure that everybody is aware of what my written correspondence is. My request is to extend plantings along the entire eastern fence line of the tennis pickleball courts adjacent to the clubhouse. I have made these requests since June 27th, 2023, which is now we're in December. And honestly, I feel dismissed and disrespected by the very community that I have been boasting about for 19 years, saying I am a proud member of this community. So I would appreciate if you could please respond to the written correspondence and the questions that remain, which include, what is the plan for the plantings along the rest of the fence line? Why did the board approve the removal of trees in executive session and not discuss the report at the May 3rd, 2023 open session? Which professional experts did the ad hoc committee consult with to justify its recommendation to overturn the board's previous decision? And I have a new question, which is, why were the trees, shrubs removed prior to the board announcing the approval of tree removal on June 7th, 2023? So again, I have expressed my appreciation for all of you in your service, but I honestly feel really dismissed and disrespected as a community member, which makes me very sad. Thank you.
Thank you, Amy. Ashley?
Ashley Tongaros, and I'm on Vanderbilt Way. And, you know, I think there's a large group of homeowners that haven't really seen the kind of change we've been wanting. And I think that this is a first step. And it's a recall petition for Christina. And we've got 38 signatures, and there's, you know, quite a lot of background work as to why, and, you know, some of the promises that were made to people that voted for that we don't feel like have been delivered. And then anyway, you'll read it all, and hopefully homeowners will get the chance to look through the packet for themselves and they can vote. So I'm asking for a vote and perhaps a new board member. So anyway, here it is.
Anybody else? Nobody on Zoom? Well, that's it. Next board meeting will be January 3rd, and I'm wishing everybody happy holidays, and we'll see you all next year.
There's only one on the agenda.
Sure, sure.
I apologize. I didn't understand the first one. Ricardo Pineda, 1013 Dunbarton Circle. You know, a lot of talk about landscaping and frustration and things like that. At the end of our alley off Dunbarton is 1007 Dunbarton Circle. There was a big cedar tree. A sign was posted on the tree that it was coming down. The property owner at 1007 was aware of it. We talked about it, but kind of around the same time that the tree was being removed, Carson was a separate contractor. Carson cleared and grubbed, that's what we use in construction, cleared and grubbed, denuded all the vegetation in that corner area between the alley and University. And the person at 10,007, myself at 1013, and the two other neighbors had no idea that that was going on, why the vegetation was being cleared. We talked to Carson and they said it was a totally separate project. It was a approved remediation project. I called the office. I was told it was in the board package for Zone 4, but according to the map that they sent out in the newsletter for the Bailey Brothers gutter cleaning, we're in Zone 3. So, I think the zones stay the same. So, it's not Zone 4. And so the point that I had, and I've talked to all the neighbors, the three other neighbors repeatedly, is that it seems very logical, if you're going to do that much vegetation removal, that there be some type of communication with the property owners of, this is what we're going to do, this is why we're going to do it. I mean, it's a lot. It looks really barren. And it just seems like there should be an SOP, a standard operating procedure, that the office, which has 3 people working there, communicate with the property owners and leave a note on their mat, stick it in the mailbox, tape it to the door or something, saying in the next 3 weeks or something, we're going to be removing vegetation, and here's the synopsis, the 1 or 2 paragraphs. But we're in the dark, and they're still in the dark. I know the person at 10,007 talked to the office, and the person in the office still can't say why it was removed and what's going in place. So to me, it's just a matter of
Ricardo,
transparency and communication.
can I talk? I'm
Go
gonna
ahead.
clarify your, so we talked to a homeowner today, and this homeowner had a fantastic idea, great idea. The suggestion was for us to put out signs, remediation signs. If you guys remember, we spent $350 for remediation signs that have been put out, and some people have stolen those signs. And so we have no longer signs. It cost us $350. So I instructed Dusty today again to order 10 signs. And I fully expect those signs to stay put where we put them. And I will not tolerate anybody in this community to steal those signs. These are our signs and they are informational. And I really would appreciate it if the people could actually leave those signs where they're going to be put. Thank you.
Marcus, there was a sign on the tree, like a notice. And so we read the sign, we were aware, everybody, the 4 neighbors were communicating, but this other clearing and grubbing, denuding, we're still in the dark about it.
I
So
think, if I may just say one thing, is that if you see a sign up there at 1007, that was the large cedar tree, I believe, that was there.
we're
And
aware
there's,
of that, yeah.
yep, there's a cedar tree, and it was right next to a backflow valve. But when they removed the tree, a lot of the shrubs around, there were a lot of privets, I believe, in that area that had to be removed at the same time for them to be able to remove the tree. Unfortunately, a lot of the shrubs did get removed. 1007 also got removed as well. They are right now, I believe today, they were removing the stump today. And because they had to be very careful because of all the valves around that area. So that was what took a lot of time. Once that stump is out, they will be grading the area, and then remediation will be happening in order to provide some privacy in that spot. But I think a lot of the instances here is that it's always good if you have questions to actually come to the grounds committee or contact your zone steward or contact anybody on the grounds committee and ask for that information. Sometimes the office doesn't have the up-to-date information that the zone stewards and grounds committee do have. I mean, I do know that today was when they removed that stump, when they were very careful with the valves and the backflow, and we are going to put the remediation in. So I just want to also let everybody know, please come to the committees as well and to the meetings and
Well,
ask these questions.
My goal here is not to be critical or make things more difficult, is that we were told by Carson when they were doing the clearing and grubbing that was a totally separate project
No,
than the
there is
cedar
no,
tree.
there is no project, there's no separate project from that. And again, the Carson employees do not know, the guys who are doing this do not know what the current situation is.
I think it's important to know that the landscaping is done by Carson, the trees by Grove. And while Grove works under Carson, is owned by Carson, they aren't, employees aren't between the two businesses. So a landscaper might not know at all what's happening with the trees and vice versa.
We were told they were two separate projects, so
They are two separate projects, but they don't quite, they don't communicate with each other. So again, yeah.
but you're saying to come to the committee if we have questions, but the work occurred without any,
Yes,
we
except-
knew about the tree because
Yeah.
the sign was
Well, you
posted.
saw the sign posted.
Okay.
Yeah, the
I-
sign's
I-
posted 2 months in
I
advance.
think the key here is communication, and you're spot on. And that's what we're trying to do.
Right.
And that's evidenced by what we're doing this evening. So thank you.
Okay, thank you. And like I said, I submitted letter in writing and a letter by email. Thank you.
Thank you, Ricardo. All right.
Meeting adjourned.
Suggest instead of spending a lot of money on signs, just use free email.
Well, as I said, I'm asking people in the neighborhood what they would like, and I'm just trying to please 590 homeowners. One wants emails, one wants a sign, so I'll give them everything they want. So I really want to I want to make sure that people are,
Email's the fastest way to let them
well,
No, can we adjourn this? We have to,
Okay,
this is out of the
this is,
rules.
yeah, this is
so,
good.
all right.
Adjourn it.
Thank you.
Meeting adjourned again.
Thank you.
Happy holidays. Oh. Or did we have a lot of people on Zoom?